one more thing?
What?
So, the medicine that you take in the morning sometimes, how does that make you feel? What do you think about that? Do you like taking that medicine? You
Yeah.
do?
Yeah,
Yeah? Why?
because it helps me do good in school.
How does it make you feel though?
Awesome!
I don't yell anymore because of what I used to do, which was yell all the time. Because I had like all that rage addiction growing up, which is in relation to medication as well as just like a bad childhood. But like the like intense anger that I felt had to do, I think, a lot with like this cocktail that I kept being put on. Like my medicine was like changing every single month. Like I was on everything but roller skates, at least to control the bipolar part, which is what they thought was causing all the anger. And it was just like this constant rotation of chemicals. My mom being with a million different men growing up, so that means different households. Like, and then on top of the fact that I was just like a weird kid, you know. But the thing is how much of that has to do with just like my own emotional like immaturity at the time, being a kid, and like what was expanded on from that.
He was very active from the start, definitely. He would just like, he was the one that everybody kind of just gravitated towards, like in a group setting. And he's very personable. He's very like, he is one of those kids that he can go anywhere and make a friend. You know, even as a toddler, he was like that.
Yeah!
Does extended warranty cover police chases? It's very doubtful. I'm going 120, 30, 40, 50, 60.
Like all the bugs on there?
No.
Come on.
Because the film already is like super stressful, right? Because it's so personal and it's really like in depth, and I'm kind of like putting like a lot out there, not just for me, but like for my nephew. And I guess there's also like an insecurity there for me, which is just like, do people care? Like, is it a relevant topic? Like, is it really? Because I will say that my case, and this is also based off of conversations that I've had with doctors, is it like my case is not insanely common. It's not uncommon. But it's not super common to have the amount of medication that I had. You know? And then it's also not really common for those people to then develop a drug addiction. So I ended up having this cocktail. So by the time that I had decided to get off all of my medicine, I was on Seroquel, lithium, Buspar, Adderall, and Xanax as needed. What do you think of that as something that physically happened to someone, that as a fact? Like what is the progression you think that led to that kind of extreme diagnosis, extreme prescription? And do you find that that's at a very extreme case, or do you find that happens often to adolescents?
It happens often enough that it's a problem.
So lithium, Xanax, Buspar, Seroquel, and Adderall. I was on all of that at the same time. And I had kind of, to a certain extent, gotten addicted to all of it. Lithium isn't necessarily addictive per se, but it definitely affects you, and it's a antipsychotic, right?
Yeah.
So, like, but I had ended up getting addicted to like all of them as much as I hated them. Growing up, it was crazy. Like, I used to shove my Adderall. Like, I hated taking it.
Yeah.
I hated taking my medicine growing up. And I would take the pills and I would like hide them under my tongue and then spit them out. And then once my parents realized that I was doing that, I would barely swallow it and like keep it barely in my neck. Like, I was choking on it pretty much. And then I would go and take
That's like some psych word.
Yeah,
shit.
I know.
Right there.
And then I would go and take a shower, and then I would shove it down the drain.
They are addictive. That feeling of well-being, that feeling of being awake and alert and focused. Like I said, they used it during World War II to feel indestructible and not to have fear, and your anxiety level is down. That feels good to a lot of people, and that wanting to feel good, you end up starting to overuse.
And then transitioning from being addicted to it to just quitting cold turkey.
Which I don't think we've ever really talked about. Like, that's an insane task to do. I hope you know that. Like, that, most people don't normally do that. I think that's something that's been brought up a couple times that we've never really discussed. I don't know, I guess whenever you brought it up, I've always just been like, that's really interesting. I feel like we should talk about that, but not right now. Like, not, 5 years deep at Hanger. It's like, we should probably talk about that sober, and then we don't. I'm really curious on what that thought process was. Right? Like, how did you decide to do that?
One time I think I saw a Ferrari coming down by our house.
A Ferrari? That would be pretty amazing if a Ferrari came in your house.
Tesla.
What your support system's like. At some point, did you have that opinion of yourself that you were, I'm not good enough for blah, 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 and when all adolescents act out, but if you act out and you're already in medical care, somebody wants to give you a diagnosis.
Helps me do good in school. Helps me do good in school. Helps me do good in school.
So in the like story I'll tell, like it'll seem like a singular moment, but in a way it was significantly more of a build-up. I'd already had 2 suicide attempts at that point. I'm 10 years sober this year, so I must have been 17. Like, I didn't know what my things were until I was a junior, almost a senior in high school, and like, I just remember one day being so sick and tired of it, and I decided to go into my therapist, who I trusted a lot, and I was like, you're going to tell me everything. And he goes, okay. There's a lot of fish in there.
Are you vlogging the fishes?
Am I vlogging the fishes? Oh yeah. There's the focus.
What's me to get in school?
Oliver, where are you going?
I'm getting a drink of my
No, you're not. You're going to come over here and continue. Come on.
So does Oliver have ADHD?
I think so. Yes. Yes, 100%. I am a firm believer that he does. Like, this is something that he does have. It's not, like my kid is out of control and he needs to be put on meds. Like, my son has ADHD. My family and his biological dad's family both have, like, ADHD and all those other kind of things. So it wasn't weird for me to think that maybe that was something.
So he tells me, your main thing is that you have bipolar disorder, but you have very severe PTSD, which induces by like manic or depressive episodes in you. And then on top of that, you have ADHD, so you have trouble focusing and you shake your leg. I'm shaking my leg right now. I always do, always have.
I know. I'm
Like,
very aware of it.
you know, there's a big debate in like the medical community about this idea of stacking. So there are two key concepts that like I talk about that pertains to my life, which is stacking and cocktail. Stacking is multiple diagnoses because there's, there things can blend over. Like you could maybe not be bipolar but still be depressed.
Okay.
And
yeah.
because you're depressed and then also you have ADHD, the way that they blend together can make it seem like you have bipolar disorder.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the field is like very iffy about having stacked diagnoses like that. And then through having a stacked diagnosis, you then end up having a cocktail. That's how you end up. And it's just like, well, you have it. Here's the Adderall for the ADHD, but you're insane and you're not going to be able to sleep very well. So like, here's something else to try and help you sleep. Like, here's some Xanax. Like, the ADHD is giving you anxiety, right? The ADHD medication, right? Because it's a stimulant. It gives you anxiety. Therefore, we're going to give you Buspar and or Xanax to help with the anxiety.
How does it make you feel, though?
Awesome! 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 Awesome!
How does it make you feel, though?
I will be here. Yep. No, alright, you go on, buddy. I'll be here waiting for you, pal.
How are you guys today?
Last night there was a race at Peoria.
Was it really? At
Yeah.
the track here?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was like there was Tyler Erb won the late models.
Nice.
Mike McKinney, the Magic Man, got first. So like some. Ooh,
Careful.
oh, that fell off. But so in the late models, this guy came off of the corner, then he went into the tire.
It's
Hi.
a dirt race, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch it? Did you watch it on TV?
Yeah, I watched it's on YouTube, yeah.
Like when he turned 5 to when he is now. I started noticing different signs. He started having tics and stuff. those kinds of things. So he, I would note, like, and eventually you'll see it, but if he's standing in one spot for too long, he'll do this thing where he'll, like, jump up and he'll, like, shake his hands. And he does it all the time. Like, if he's standing in a spot for too long. Like, if, like, we're standing in line somewhere, you'll see him, like, he'll jump up and he'll, like, shake his hands. And that's his tick.
I'm not anti-medication. I'm anti-medication for me.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is a big thing to bring up. Because you've never, like, pushed that. You're just talking about yourself in this context.
Right. So, I'm not anti-medication. People need it.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen people who do really well with it. Dalton needed medication.
Yeah.
And because he wasn't consistent with his medication, he also ended up being addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
But, like, when he was on his medication consistently, he was doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't on his medication consistently, got addicted to drugs, and now he's dead.
Yeah.
I think that where it becomes dangerous is in situations like mine, which is pediatrics are being given these really intense medications at really young ages. They end up being on them for life, for the most part, because they don't learn any kind of coping mechanism, which I do think is important to learn to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I definitely had to learn that emotionally. I had to learn emotional coping mechanisms because I was such a shit person.
Uh-huh.
I left that appointment and I remember just sitting in my car for like a really long time. I'm sitting in my Cavalier and I just had this like really intense, like, I just remember like sobbing.
Uh-huh.
Because I had known that there was more to my diagnoses. And then he just laid all this stuff on me. He was like, yeah, you know, ADHD, bipolar disorder, but you also are insanely post-traumatic stress disorder because of all the abuse.
Yeah.
And then you have OCD, like a very minor form of OCD, but I would say that my OCD has gotten worse since I got off the medication. Not sure what that means, but it's definitely something I've recognized. But I think that on my drive home, I was really thinking about like the kind of person I wanted to be. So I get home, and at the time I lived in what I call the trauma house. It was on Dunbar Street.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
And it's on a lake. And I remember just like my body was just kind of like moving. It was so strange. And I took all of my medication and I went out, and I remember I was on the deck right before the lake. I was on the lake. I was on the deck right above it. And I had all my medication set out on the railing, and I was just standing out there, and I was looking at it, and I undid the tops on all my medicine, and I threw it all into the lake. Like it was super cliche, but it was like also very poetic, and it was just like a thing that like I felt like I needed to do, and I just like did it.
Yeah.
you real quick. What did you think about your appointment today?
Good.
Yeah? What did you guys talk about?
A lot of things.
You can tell him.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
That's okay if you don't. Yeah.
But
Jaden's sister went there.
Jaden couldn't go into your ninth grade. It was your COVID.
Give her the remote, Oliver. You were upstairs playing on the game, so she came downstairs.
But I don't want to play it anymore.
Well, then you guys need to find something you both want to watch. Yes. Can you guys agree on something, please?
Can't.
You can't agree on anything.
Yes.
There's not a single thing that both of you want to watch.
Yes.
Okay.
I had made kind of like a realization like leading up to that, like for months, that like about the kind of man that I wanted to be and the man that I thought that I knew I was, but like something just always felt wrong, something always felt forced. Like I always felt like I was a good person, and you know, I guess everybody maybe feels that way, but like I felt like that I wasn't the good person that I knew that I wanted to be, or that I knew that I could be, or that I was, because I was not. I was not a good person.
You were not happy with the situation you were in at that time.
So I threw all my medicine into the lake, and I made a promise to never do it again. And then for the next 6 months, I went through the worst withdrawal, obviously, ever. You know, I got insomnia. My sleep schedule got reversed. So I was up all night and then sleeping during the day, which was horrible.
Enhanced you not going to school.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, sweats, chills, you know, vomiting, headaches, for 6 months, every single day, for every single day for about 6 months.
Wow.
And I will say, and I've had open heart surgery, and I really do think that quitting that medicine cold turkey was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Briefly, if you're comfortable, what did you guys talk about?
We talked about like how he's had been diagnosed with ADHD since he was in kindergarten, how like he kind of had anxiety before, but it kind of feels like it has been getting worse as he's gotten older, so we want to kind of try and figure out how to like regulate that without actually putting him on more medication. His bedwetting issues that he's been having for like the last year or two, so we also kind of talked about that and what we can do to like figure out if it's actually like if it's going to be like a mental issue or if it's actually like a physical issue, which I've actually talked to his doctor about this a couple times, and we don't think it's a physical issue. We think it's a self-awareness, like, comprehension issue, which is why we want to try and talk about it in the counseling.
Because no one knew. That's a whole other thing, right? No one knew that I had thrown out all my medication. I was still getting it prescribed to me, and I was just throwing it away. And that was also very poetic for me, to choose to throw it all into the lake.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of get rid of, like, the gun, per se, or the noose, or what have you. Like, just the thing that I was constantly looking at as, like, an out whenever I wanted it to. Like, that out was gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
At least mentally. I mean, there's 1,000 ways that someone can take their own life. But, like, this was my modem. So it's just like I replaced all this medication with sex and alcohol and cigarettes. I fully recognize that I like substitute the substances that I was addicted to with different substances that are not better, you know. And it's something that I struggle with because I recognize I'm very self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm fully aware of like when I'm being distant or when I'm being you know, an alcoholic, or you know, if I'm smoking too much. Like I'm very self-aware of all of these things, but like in the back of my mind I still had this like really toxic ideology, which just like, well, it's not Adderall and it's not Xanax, you know? And I think a lot of people do that. And you know, as we like look into now, which is just I wish that kids who struggle with this know that they have a choice. "10 years ago, I had been in a 6-year-long, pharmaceutically induced and supported drug addiction. At my peak, I was on the max doses of Seroquel, lithium, Adderall, Buspar, and Xanax. I hated being on it all with everything in my being. But yet, I was addicted to it. I needed it. Or so I thought. I was rageful, anxiety controlled, PTSD attacked, and depressed beyond all reasoning. I tried to kill myself several times before I was 17. I destroyed relationships with friends and family, and I let my own body and mind dictate my actions. I weighed $120 max because I wouldn't eat. I couldn't eat. I was sad. I just couldn't do it anymore. So, in July, 10 years ago, I quit. Cold turkey. I threw every drop of medicine I had into the lake behind my house. It was horrible. The withdrawals were agonizing. The shift in mentality was grueling, and I told no one. No one knew for over a year. I changed. I grew and improved myself into the man I am proud of today. I struggle every day. This is true. But I am alive because I decided one random day on a lakefront that I was tired of being the man I was becoming, and I wanted to start growing into the man I knew I could be. When I look at all the old photos of me when I was younger, I see a falsity, a fake smile, and a broken mind. In the new ones, I see growth. I see a man I'm proud to call myself. I thank this medication, though. Without it, I may not have come to the conclusion in time, and you'd know me only as a brief, troubled life rotting beneath the ground. Today, I am 10 years sober.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Oliver. Happy birthday to you.
So today, I am 10 years older.